Welcome to this week's Renaissance Man podcast. I promised you guys, not only was this going to be a dope podcast each and every week, but I'm going to get the best and the brightest from each industry. Today, I am honored to not only have one of the craftiest, most thoughtful people that you've ever seen paint or do art, but also he just a fly dude. Please welcome to the show, Hebru Brantley.
And salute, sir. Thank you for having me, man. This is it's a huge honor and a pleasure, man.
All love. Life imitates art.
It
How
does.
is your hometown of Chicago reflected in your art?
Man, I think, you from the Midwest, man. You from the D, and it's just like I think even like in ball, right? Like at a time, I think, guys played a certain way regionally.
Mhm.
And I think that like that's a bit reflective in the art. But for me, it was like sort of looking at that, who was doing what in Chicago, at certain periods, and how could I elevate beyond that and sort of bring something new. And for me, it was like, creating these narratives using characters, as like, if you read, the Sunday Funnies, if you read like,
Mhm.
Charlie Brown, the Peanuts, like Charles Schultz could say whatever he wanted to say, but do it through these characters, right? And so that was sort of my way in, where it's like using these characters to get out my message, my personal feelings, beliefs, etc. And Chicago really helped shape that, because that's at a point that was all I knew, for real, and that was, those streets shaped me, and the people there shaped me and my influences. So it was, it all starts there. That's the root.
Was art your first creative outlet?
Yeah, it was, like, man, I grew up with a family of hoopers, and the craziest thing, like, I'm 6'8", and the craziest thing was that like all my cousins could draw, and so it was like we would be out all day playing ball
Mm.
right off Lakeshore, and come back, to my aunt's house, my grandmother's house, whatever, and just, draw. Like, I was the cousin that collected comic books, so they would thumb through my books, or I had dope magazines. I was a young aspiring sneakerhead. I was too broke to really be a sneakerhead, but I would sit and I would draw sneakers. I would draw superheroes. I would, and so that was like a big bonding time for all of us. And like, I had a cousin, one cousin that played at Louisville for a minute, Alvin Sims, and Alvin and his brother, man, they were cold, off on the court and off the court. Like they could draw and paint, and they were early inspirations to me. And I think, it was just that thing of like, basketball was a thing that I loved, but it wasn't my heart. And art was more like that expression. It just felt, it was just something there for me, always.
The theme for this episode is you are the artist of your life. What were some of the dreams that you've accomplished already that you're proud of? And what are some of the dreams that you haven't painted just yet?
Certain things that I've accomplished, I think it's being able to exhibit around the world, having had like art exhibitions, in Europe and China, I mean, Asia, just obviously America, Canada, South America. That's huge, because again, it's like campaigning. You just get to spread the message, spread the vision, and so that's always a big thing, and has always been a big thing, and just growth in that way of being able to, it's one thing, man, to look at art on Instagram and say, oh, that's a cool image, but then it's another to actually go into a gallery or a space and
Mhm.
just be sort of consumed by it. It's another kind of feeling and emotion that's evoked. And so, as often as I get a chance to do it, you know I'm here for it. I want to do it, more and more, and just continue that, throughout my life.
You're 6'8", and you mentioned we both from the Midwest. And we know a lot of people that grow up how we grew up, we felt like Biggie said, either you sling crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. So we want that fast money,
Hmm.
cars, watches, but those things depreciate with value. And I know you've had to explain this time and time again to people in life because art appreciates in value. How can we make smart art purchases?
I think, like anything, man, it just, once you sort of, empower yourself with knowledge of, who's out there, what's being, sold at what. I think, first and foremost, getting into the art game, and I always tell people just to buy what they love, and I think that like starting from that place is genuine, is earnest, and it only brings about a really good result. Because at the end of the day, like, for most people, they don't have super, large disposable income to just go ahead and I'll buy this paint, like the wealthy, I'll buy this painting and I'll store it. I won't even hang it up. And so I think, starting there, and then, it's just like anything, man. Once you get into it, you kind of fall through that rabbit hole. You find out more, you understand more, and finding those other artists that really speak to you, that are on different levels, and the hardest part is honestly is just trying to, once you get to those artists on those levels, is you know finding work that's available, and potentially still affordable depending on who you are and where you are. But I think for me, one of the important things early on was like, I looked at like the 80s pop movement, art movement, in New York, and like guys like Warhol and Herring, and and that's what really brought me in, and Basquiat. And so thinking about like how accessible their work was, not only just, from the visuals, but like t-shirts, like collabs with brands and things like that, like being able to have different points of merchandising that have my art in it so people can participate at different levels, and it's like, that person that buys a t-shirt today, next year they might buy a print, after that they might buy a painting. So like, as I grow, my audience grows with me, and allowing them to participate at different levels, I think is really important.
Where can your supporters go and find some of your signature pieces and some of the things that you have coming up next?
Man, I've got a lot of shows actually overseas this year. A lot was kind of postponed because of COVID last year. So I've got like exhibitions in Hong Kong in
Mm.
April, Tokyo in October, and then I've got a big exhibition coming to New York in June. So I think just kind of staying tuned and watching, for those alerts. But I'm coming to a city near you.
Absolutely. And this podcast is with the New York Post, the oldest publication in the United States of America. So we'll make sure we get it out on their social handles, page 6, and all of that. But I want to ask you this question. What would you like to see the educational system do for the world of art to get kids involved?
That's a really good question, man. I mean, I think support it. Like really support it. Put some and some money behind it. Find that money. I think that art is, first of all, the educational system is antiquated. I think and it's we're still teaching from our old playbook. And I think that if time has proven anything, it's like you know we have evolved, and we need to continue to evolve, and like that includes how we look at art, whether it's music, whether it's theater, or like art, painting, sculpting, etc. But like allowing for students to have the opportunity to try these things and really express themselves and find sort of their creative center is super important. I applaud, man, with what you've done, with your own institution,
Thank you, brother.
um, and guys like LeBron as well. Like I've helped participate when and however I can, man. And just let me take a moment and just tell you, like, bro, like if you need something in that arena, please reach out. Like I'm here for it. I think it's extremely important, man, because even me coming up, like I like it wasn't readily available. Those lines of support when it came to the creative, were something you had to seek and find. And, especially in a city like Chicago, as big as it is, diverse as it is, like we need those outlets. These kids need those outlets, and they need to continue to see that those things are available, and those things are actually being thought of as, real opportunities for these kids to grow from. And I think, if social media has shown us anything, it's like, the lure of the starving artist doesn't necessarily exist. There's great opportunity and good money to be made in this arena.
That's exactly where I was going with this final question. Art starts as a fun, but it's a way to pay your bills. But then you turn it into a business. So as much as people see it as you're artistic, you're also an entrepreneur. What are the key steps other aspiring artists can take to build their art business?
I think now it's honestly it's more easy than ever. There's so many outlets. Before there was sort of a traditional path you had to kind of, maneuver. But I think now, man, it's like, I mean, you have independent galleries that are just Instagram based accounts, and you have NFTs now, which is the sort of another new craze. But I always tell like young guys, first it starts with finding that voice, whatever that is, and then using the tools, social media as a huge sort of resource to help push the agenda, push the message, push the work. Like I mean, just in all forms of art. Look at, obviously like my brother Chance, like, what Chance was able to do off of social media, right? Building that, I mean, it's phenomenal. And visual artists do it all the time. There's a number of artists that, didn't grow up in art, didn't, grow up in that world or understanding that thing, and their understanding or limited knowledge came off of what they saw on social media, and they just grew their platform, started to really engage with, their fan base, and, starting small, but, to grow it, doing prints, t-shirts, little things to just engage with an audience, having some shows. And, before you know it, man, people gravitate towards real. So,
Well, I applaud you, my brother.
Thank you,
You
man.
are a role model. You're a genius. And art is something in particular that kids that look like us should get exposed to. And it would be an honor at some point, if you're ever in the Detroit metropolitan area, to meet our students and allow them to understand who you are and what you do, because I'm going to be telling them.
Man, let's do it. My wife is from Detroit, man. My in-laws live in Southfield.
Oh, that's
You
what
know,
up. So you already know we're going to boss up, say what up, though. And before I let you get out of here, I got some
Yes,
rapid fire questions, a handful of them. I like to
Let's
call
do it.
this Gone in 60 Seconds. You ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Your favorite cartoon character as a kid?
Bugs Bunny.
Besides Michael Jordan, favorite Chicago athlete of all time?
Scottie Pippen.
Artist dead or alive you like to collaborate with?
Jean-Michel Basquiat, and I'll say it, Keith Haring.
Besides art, what do you collect?
Comics, weird Black, memorabilia from iconic films and records, and just, stuff that's us, the culture.
Absolutely. Two more. One thing that every artist should have.
A business sense.
Preach. You got your degree in film. Favorite movie you've seen during the lockdown?
Oh, during the lockdown, damn. Recently, man. I mean, Sam, it's hard, man. Ma Rainey's. Can I do a couple real quick?
Of course you can.
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, phenomenal film. Judas and the Black Messiah, and shout out to Shaka and Charles King, and then Cherry, the Russo brothers. New film.
Make sure y'all check out those films. Make sure you check out everything Hebru Brantley. I appreciate the love, my brother. All respect.
Man, thank you, brother. Love.